This is the opening shot from Paul Thomas Anderson's film, Punchdrunk Love. From this single shot, what do you as the audience know about this character? How does this shot make you feel? Within every moment of a film, just beneath the surface, there's an underlying communication taking place between the director and the audience. Like all languages, film has its own inherent vocabulary, grammar, structure, and rules, which the director can manipulate in order to convey emotions and meaning to the audience. This concept of language grounded in imagery is known as visual literacy, and it's through this process that audiences are able to derive meaning from all images in the world. Here's Brian Kennedy, director of the Hood Museum of Art at Dartmouth College, explaining this concept.
It's the ability to construct meaning from images. It's not a skill. It uses skills as a toolbox. It's a form of critical thinking that enhances your intellectual capacity.
There's a shallow, surface level of enjoyment to merely looking at a beautiful piece of art. The deeper, richer level of enjoyment only comes when the audience critically examines the artwork. Why did the artist choose a specific color, or a particular perspective? Through a number of varying elements, the artist is trying to convey a meaning to the audience. But what is the artist trying to tell us? Here is Martin Scorsese discussing visual literacy and how it pertains to film.
You need to know how ideas and emotions are expressed through a visual form, but it still has the same rules, and it still has the same vocabulary, and it still has the same grammar. And the grammar is panning left and right, tracking in or out, booming up and down, intercutting a certain way, use of a close-up as opposed to a medium shot. What is a medium shot? What is a long shot? And how you use all these elements to make an emotional and psychological point to an audience.
The director, in collaboration with the actors, writer, composer, director of photography, and other crew members, has an arsenal of tools at their disposal, which they must harness in order to convey these emotions to the audience effectively. Let's look at the first shot from Punchdrunk Love again, but this time, look beneath the surface to the language being communicated to us by the director. The character is not only shoved into the corner of the office building, but he is also shoved into the corner of the frame, making him seem isolated and alone. He's shot from afar with a wide-angled lens, keeping the mostly empty frame in focus, which only enhances this isolation. Keeping him small in the frame and hunched over at his desk conveys a feeling of weakness. Perhaps not a physical weakness, but an emotional weakness. The lighting is dreary and bleeds into darkness on the edges of the frame, making it feel claustrophobic. The only vibrant color is blue, which blankets the image in an overwhelming sense of sadness. Even our character is dressed in blue, almost making him disappear into the background, consumed by this sadness. Immediately, Paul Thomas Anderson is speaking to the audience through his deliberate choices of framing, lighting, and colors, giving us information even before a single word is spoken. Now that we've been given a glimpse at the underlying communication at work in all films, let's examine a scene later on in Punchdrunk Love, and examine how Paul Thomas Anderson effectively harnesses this cinematic language to convey his protagonist's social anxiety. First, a little context. Barry Egan is a single man who owns a company that sells themed toilet plungers. He's emotionally fragile due to his 7 overbearing sisters who ridiculed and emotionally abused him his entire life. And because of this, he has a difficult time opening up to others and processing his emotions, sometimes violently fluctuating between rage and depression.
What the fuck is your problem? Fucking retard, Barry!
But when he finds a harmonium dumped outside his office, he finds an avenue to begin channeling his emotions, almost like an adult security blanket. Too embarrassed and shy to approach the girl one of his sisters is trying to set him up with, Barry, in his loneliness, turns to a phone sex line. Not out of lust, but just so he can have some company. Unfortunately, the next morning, the phone sex line extorts Barry for money. Oh, and there's pudding. Lots of pudding, which Barry purchases in order to take advantage of a marketing ploy for airline miles, so that he can fly away from everything. It's a really weird movie. Now, back to the scene with Barry at his work. The first thing that initially stands out is the incredibly unique score from composer Jon Brion. Instead of something melodic and orchestral, Jon Brion creates a percussive landscape with seemingly disconnected instruments and sounds layered on top of one another. And this percussive sound is perhaps best epitomized in the song Hands and Feet, which plays throughout this scene.
And what I do is I do a track of treated piano, do another track of treated piano. I think maybe did 5 or 6 which are layered on top of each other. There's the sound of duct tape opening up in the score, not just because I remembered our conversation and that he was putting that in the movie. And then I went over to the drums in the room and sort of played percussion ensemble.
The layered dissonance from multiple instruments creates this almost maddening sound, and this perfectly parallels the aspects of Barry's life, which are about to collide. And just like the music with its layers of disconnected elements, Anderson also gives us quick visual glimpses of this as he frames his plungers on top of his sister and Lena. They're all crashing into one another. Anderson moves the camera like another character in the story, adding to the frantic pace of the scene. We're constantly reminded of the disconnected elements crashing into one another.
Hi.
Do you remember me? I left my car yesterday.
Yes, I do.
What is that? Are you learning to play the piano?
Lance! Yeah? Remember, we have to call that guy in Toledo.
You don't want to come eat with us?
Oh, man, I do.
What's all that pudding?
During this exchange, Barry is framed in front of the open garage door. The harsh light blares down on him like a spotlight, as he's uncomfortably put on the spot by his sister.
You canceled your credit card. I need you not to cancel your credit card, and I need you to up your limit.
When the sex line tracks him down to his office, Barry is staged with his back to the frame and hunched over. It conveys a feeling of shame and embarrassment as Barry tries to hide what he's done from Lena and his sister, while also, in a way, hiding it from the audience. Anderson uses a close-up when Barry's sister approaches him, making Barry seem like a cornered animal. The close-up takes what should be an intimate relationship between a brother and sister, and instead makes it feel claustrophobic and almost threatening. Barry can barely look at her in the eye as he retreats to the corner while she relentlessly badgers him with questions.
Barry, did you ask Walter to get you a shrink? What's the matter with you? Are you okay?
He is lying.
When Lena comes into the office, the threat of the sex line hangs over the conversation. At one point, the ringing phone is framed on top of Barry,
That must be nice. That must be really...
almost weighing down on him and his mind. Just as Barry is consistently dressed in his blue suit, which I previously established conveys sadness and loneliness, Lena is also consistently dressed in variations of red, which represents passion and love. When the sister storms back into the office, there's one shot where we see all these disconnected elements crammed into the frame, just as they are in Barry's mind, creating this growing anxiety. At this point, Barry is narrowly holding it together. He doesn't even react when items in his life literally come crashing down around him. His mind and emotions are completely jumbled. He's unable to effectively process them, which is why at the end, he clings to his only source of security, his harmonium. And just when we think the scene is over, the music plays on, signifying the continuation of the scene and Barry's anxiety. As Lena gives Barry her number, there are pictures of scantily dressed women on the wall, boxing the two of them in, foreshadowing the looming conflict with the sex line. Only after he gets Lena's phone number does his mind finally calm and the music finally quiets. And just when we think that all the elements of Barry's life have separated into their rightful places, the ominous threat from the sex line punctuates the scene, leaving a bitter taste in our mouths.
This is Barry.
You just made a fucking war for yourself that you can't afford.
This is just one scene from one movie throughout the history of film, but this is the type of creative process that goes into every aspect of filmmaking. It may seem tedious, but it's this type of thinking that separates forgettable, surface layer films from timeless pieces of art, which require multiple viewings and critical thinking. Like any language, visual literacy must be learned through practice and training. But once your eyes become fluent to the working vocabulary, grammar, and structure of film, you will eventually be able to tune in and listen to this silent and meaningful conversation.
So here we go.
Hey everyone from beautiful Lake Tahoe, California. Entertain the Elk puts out 2 new videos a month, so please make sure to subscribe below. That way you don't miss out on any new content whenever it drops. P.T. Anderson is probably my favorite working director today, so it's a real thrill getting to make this video examining his work. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment below, share with your friends. Also, you can help support this channel by visiting my Patreon page, where patrons get exclusive rewards and content such as exclusive audio commentaries, t-shirts, and get the videos released early to them. Once I reach my first goal of $250 on Patreon, I plan to, as a thank you, release the video that you all have requested the most, which would be the day South Park died. So head on over to the page, check it out, and support if you're able to. This video was brought to you by Squarespace. I recently built my own website, and honestly, I wouldn't have been able to do it without Squarespace. I know absolutely nothing about coding, and the entire process just seemed overwhelming. But Squarespace's all-in-one platform and their excellent 24/7 customer service made the entire process so incredibly simple and easier than I could have ever imagined. There's nothing to install or any annoying updates ever. They even help you find the domain address for your website. For me, I was able to simply search entertaintheelk.com, saw it was available, paid for it, and it was mine, just like that. So if you're looking to grow and promote your own business, head over to squarespace.com/theelk. where you can start a free trial service. Play around with all the possibilities, and you'll see for yourself just how easy it all is. And when you use the offer code TheElk, you'll get 10% off your first purchase. Thanks again everyone for watching, and I will see you next time.